Hey, it's Stan on the Mobile SDK team. We are just releasing Mobile SDK version 3 Service Pack 5. And so there's a really exciting, cool trick that I want to show you that will allow you to bootstrap a native iOS OData SDK application instantly. So if you have some experience developing with iOS and the native SDK in the past, you'll know there's a lot of libraries, a lot of header search paths that you need to work out, some bundles from the MAF stuff that you needed to copy into your project and link correctly, and the version control on that could be a little bit unwieldy. So what I'm going to show you how to do is use a tool called CocoaPods. It's an open source tool. It's a Ruby gem, and through just one line, you're going to be able to link all those libraries, set all the search paths, bootstrap the thing instantly. It's awesome. So let me get right into it. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to create a new Xcode project. And so I'm just going to make it a master detail application, Objective-C type, and I'm going to call it CocoaPods example. Okay, so I've got an Xcode project. So I'll go ahead and actually exit out real quickly. And I'm going to change directory in the terminal to that project directory. So you can see the Xcode project, the project folder, and the tests. So I'm going to run a CocoaPods command called pod init. And what this did was it generated a pod file for my project. So I can actually go ahead and edit that. And what this pod file is it's a list of all the dependencies that I want to link into this Xcode project. And it's going to link it through the Xcode workspace method. So it's going to be very clean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say pod, and my pod is named native SDK, and I'm going to give it the path is going to be the installation directory of the Mobile SDK installer to the native SDK folder. So I'm going to say SAP Mobile SDK 3 native SDK, and that is it. I'm going to save it, and then I'm going to go back to the terminal. I'm going to say pod install, and so it's reading this file and it's looking for the native SDK, and it just executed. It says it generated the pods project, integrated the project, and it says from now on use CocoaPods example.xcode workspace. Okay, so I'm going to go to the folder here. Let's say and let's look in this folder. And you can see I have the original Xcode project. Now I have this new generated Xcode workspace. So I'm going to open that. And now I have two Xcode projects in the workspace. I have my original CocoaPods example, and I also have a project called pods. And if you look in this folder, you'll find this pod file that we just worked with. And it also has a folder called development pods with one called native SDK. And there are all the headers for the native SDK. There, under the frameworks folder, are all the libraries that we need. The resources contains all the bundles. Everything is all good to go. So it's already done. So I'm going to show you, prove it, by going into the app delegate, and I'm going to import, let's say, the SOData offline store, and I'm going to do a quick init method here to say SOData offline store global and it's indexing, which is why it's killing me. There we go, global init, and there's no issues. I can go ahead and build this project. And the build succeeds. So your application's already done. So that was awesome. How did I do it? Let me go ahead and stop this. What I did was I added a file called a pod spec into the native SDK folder of the installation directory. So if I pull up and say, let's open SAP Mobile SDK, it has, actually I could even up level a notch. Say go to SAP. Right, so I have the mobile SDK, and then I have the client hub, install, capsule SDK, and the native SDK. And under the native SDK, you see the OData framework for Android and iOS. You see the MAF extensibility reuse components. And you'll see that I've added this file called the native SDK pod spec. So I'm quickly going to show you. So on github.com/sstadelman, I have a repository there called the native SDK pod spec, and there's a link here with some instructions for this very example, and there's also this native SDK file. So go ahead, pull down the latest release, the SP5PL1, and unzip it and copy this file here. And let's go ahead and open that. Okay, so what we're looking at is a document that gets run by the CocoaPods Ruby application. And it includes a list of all the libraries, all the native SDK libraries and frameworks, all the header source files, and all of the bundle resources and storyboards that need to be attached to the project. So this, if you see, actually maps to the contents of this folder here. So we put the pod spec in the native SDK folder, and you'll see it lists, I need the OData framework libraries for Afaria, connectivity, request supportability. All those map to OData framework, iOS, libraries, debug folder. Okay. And actually, if you want to go ahead and use the release version of this, feel free to modify this. I might do that. To make that change, you would just go in and you would set release universal here, and that would read from the release version of the library. Okay. So yeah, that's all you need to do, and again, the address of the instructions is github.com/sstadelman, native SDK pod spec, and if you need to install CocoaPods itself, check out CocoaPods.org. And you'll see that installing CocoaPods is actually just a single gem install, and it takes about 2 minutes. And for some additional resources, check out CocoaControls.com. And this is actually just an open source community of reusable components, and you can see that you can filter on CocoaPods here. So it makes it just awesome to be able to add new stuff to your project, check it out, reuse it if you want. I really recommend that you guys try this out. As you can see, it's just a magical way to bootstrap your SAP iOS SDK applications, and it's a really great way for discovery of new libraries also. So thanks.